Good morning, dear students. Today we will discuss how to code the data so as to get data analysis done very quickly and in very understandable manner. In last presentation, we discussed how to edit the data. Editing is basically done to complete some questionnaires which were left, to complete them or to make that usable. Sometimes some questionnaires are left unanswered, or sometimes we do the editing for consistency as well. So many things are there we have discussed in the last presentation, like we do editing for questionnaires. Now coding, how will you code the question and their answer so as to get help in data analysis? Because you cannot always type in the answers for data analysis. It would be a chaos. For example, you have a question which is actually a multiple choice question and it has got 4 or 5 answers. Even if you go and tabulate it, it would be very easy and convenient for you to number them from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, rather than typing in the answers, even for the tabulation format, right? But when you go for further analysis, then it is really very important that you number the data rather than just typing in the actual answer. So that is why we go for coding. We have got two kind of questions. One is open ended and then another one is close ended. Open ended questions are different and close ended questions have also got so many categories inside, so we'll be discussing all of them with examples. Let us first understand what basically coding is. Coding is the process of identifying and assigning a numerical score or other character symbol to previously edited data. We have already edited the data till this time, right? Now we'll be just coding the answers. We'll be coding them in numerical form, right? So as to get help in data analysis. When you numerically code the data, it is always beneficial while analyzing it. Otherwise, it create little problems. If there are softwares which actually ask you for numerical values while analyzing the data rather than any symbol, like even a b c d symbols are not accepted in some softwares, right? So this is very necessary to code the data in numerical form. For example, there are three things: field, record, and file. Field is collection of characters representing single type of data, where you will be presenting just single data. I'll just tell you the kind of field, record, and file with the help of one example also. Let us see what this is. Record is collection of related fields, right? Then file is collection of related records, and there can be numerous files then. For example, like this, field is, here we mentioned field, and then record is a collection of field, and then file is a collection of records. So this way we'll be discussing what field is initially. Field is, for example, your question number or name or address. Uh, uh, record is basically it's related to field. Question number is this one, and name is this, and address is this. This is just for one questionnaire, this whole information. And when we say that record is collection of related fields, that means it is collection of related fields. This is just one field right now, and we'll be having different records for numerous questionnaires of one kind. For example, I have done a survey and I collected 10,000 questionnaires for that one particular survey. So they all be recorded in here in one record. And then record 1, record 2, 3, 4, and up to n number of records, there would be one file. You can go with one file for one survey, two files for two surveys. Like this, you will be having n number of files for different surveys. File would be just one thing for one survey. So we'll discuss till here, like field. It's a kind of different fields are there, different kind of related things are there. Then when it comes to record, collection of fields, related fields is there, and then when it comes to file, collection of related record would be there, right? Like this, you can say there is a name Alabama, state ABC, population the population of the state, and then average age of people out there, and then cars per thousand, how many people own car per thousand people. So this is a kind of field, and this is your record. This way you can present a data matrix. Coding basically it's a kind of rule for interpreting, classifying, and recording data in the coding process. You will be interpreting the question, what kind of the question it is. For example, you'll be understanding the question, then classify it in the form of whether it is open-ended or it's a close-ended one. And if it is open-ended, how would you be classifying the kind of answers separately? Or if it is a close-ended one, then what kind of the questions you have. For example, whether it is a MCQ, or it is a yes no, or it is a categorical question, like that you'll classify it, and then you'll be recording data accordingly in the coding process. For example, if a question has just two answers, yes or no, then you can mention numerical codes as 1 2 out there, or 0 1 for better understanding. For example, you can say that if a company is reporting CSR, that means it's a yes and it's a 1 kind of reporting is there. And if they are not reporting, then you can mention 0, that means no, right? So that can also be done. Yes no would be better understandable in this form, in 0 and 1. 0 means no, no, or you can say that if it is a yes, then you can count it, and if it is a no, then that doesn't have any value, that means 0. You can mention things this way as well. You have to always logically code the answers so as to get a better understanding even later on. Then actual numerical or other character symbols should be there. Some rules for coding are appropriate to the research problem and purpose. Like I mentioned here about CSR practices, if company is practicing CSR, then 1. If it is not, then 0. That is somewhere justifiable, right? And sometimes yes or no can be coded as 1 and 2 as well. Randomly 1 2. There might be no meaning as such. It is just for numerical purpose. That's it, right? Categories should be exhaustive. There should not be two categories which can come under one thing. So this should be taken care of. Then categories should be mutually exclusive and independent of each other. If there are two categories, they should be mutually exclusive all the time. For example, you have categorized age. For example, if you mention it like 20 to 30, then 30 to 40, 40 to 50, there is always a confusion that how would you measure the age 30, in 20 to 30 or 30 to 40. So better way is you'll be starting it like 21 to 30, and then 31 to 40, and then 41 to 50, so as there is no confusion. So it should be mutually exclusive and independent of each other. And then it should be single dimensional. It should not be creating any confusion like that. Yes, if you have to code close-ended questions, it's really very easy as compared to open-ended questions. For example, question is like, are you married? Yes or no? Yes or no here can be 1 2, because there might be something else related to it for the purpose of analysis. It is not like the CSR practices we discussed, like if you are married it should be 1, and if you are not married it should be 0. It might not count. And then it depends on the questionnaire, it depends on the kind of study as well, if whether you have to go with 1 0 or 1 2. Second is, for example, what is your occupation? Professional, farmer, manager, clerk, student, or there is any other category, right? These can always be like 1 2 3 4, and these should preferably it should be like the way they have been put in the questionnaire, so as to easily collect them. Otherwise there is always a confusion in the mind, because for example, you have written these categories like this in the questionnaire, but you put it otherwise while coding. For example, you put 1 mark for the farmer, and 2 for the professional, and then 3 for clerk, and 4 for manager, then 5 for student, and 6 for other. While collecting the data, while data entry, you might make mistakes, right? So you should always try to code data as per the way you have designed the questionnaire. And if you feel like that there are so many different entries in case of other, and they are really helpful in the questionnaire in the at the time of data analysis, then you can categorize them further as well, like 6, 7, 8, 9. You can further increase the categories, right? Let us see some more examples so as to better understand the process of coding. For example, how many years have you been playing tennis on a regular basis? Over here, the respondent would be writing number of years, so it makes your work easier. This is a kind of open-ended question, but we will be but the question is very easy to code, so that is why we have put in this question in close-ended category, because there would always be a number, you do not have to code it. So you would always find such questions as well. Then what is your level of play? For example, I have given these 6 options, right? Among these options, how would you rate them? How would you numerically code them? This is really important. Like you can normally put them starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For example, if it was like this, teaching pro was mentioned here in the starting, then expert, then advanced, then upper mediate, then lower mediate, and then invoice. Then what would you do? Even then, if you have done like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then at the time of analysis you might feel like sometimes it happens like 6 means better, right? At the time of counting, at the time of giving marks, we generally give higher marks to the students performing better and low marks to the student performing lower, right? Performing less than the others. So this is how, if you choose the number coding for questionnaire in the same way, it would always be better. So novice means lesser than others, one, then lower, then upper mediate. It is actually increasing the number as we are going up. So this is the better way to code the question to the code the answers of questionnaire. For example, here if you see it, in the last 12 months, has your level of play improved, remained the same, or decreased? Improved means 1, remained the same means 2, and decreased means 3. You can even code it as improved means 1, remained the same means 0, and decreased means -1. Or you can code it as decreased means 1, remained the same means 2, and improved means 3. I have written it deliberately to show you, like if you write it this way, improved means 1 and decreased means 3, that might not look better at the time of coding, because as we see the values, we always conclude that 3 is better than 1, right? And it is, I know, if we see simple numbers, 3 is greater than 1. So this is how we should code the questionnaire as well. Do you belong to a club with tennis facility? Yes or no? This can be done 1, 2, or 1, 0 as well. How many people in your household, including yourself, play tennis? Number who play tennis. This doesn't need any coding, right? Then why do you play tennis? To have fun, to stay fit, to be with friends, to improve my game, to compete, to win. These are randomly, placed attributes. These are some random statements. You can put them just like that, the way they have been in questionnaire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. You don't have to do anything about it, right? In the past months, have you purchased any tennis instructional books or videotapes? Yes or no? Again, it doesn't matter whether you put it as 1 or 2 or 1 or 0. It depends on the kind of analysis you are going to do. Yes, this is very important. Please rate each of the following with regard to this flight, if applicable. Suppose you are traveling somewhere and you have been given a questionnaire, right? Courtesy and treatment for the different things. And the options are excellent, good, fair, poor. If you mention them like this 1, 2, 3, 4, how would it be when you will be entering the data, you will be doing the analysis? How would you see, how would you look at the data collection? 1 means excellent and 4 means poor. That doesn't look good. So it should always be like this. Excellent should be getting maximum marks and poor should be getting lower marks at the time of feeding the data. If there are some negative questions as well, we ask some negative questions also. In that case, you can do like this: excellent for 1 and poor for 4. That can be done. So this is how we should always do. If, for example, we get questions like, how do you rate someone's behavior on the scale of 10? 10 means very good behavior and 1 means worst behavior, right? So if you look at that, 10, we are giving 10 points to the person who has behaved the best, right? So that means excellent should be given to the person, excellent should be given to that person who has behaved the best, right? Excellent means maximum marks. So here it should be like 4, then 3, then 2, and then poor to 1, right? So this way we should always quote the questionnaire. One more example: I believe that people judge your success by the kind of car you drive. And this can be like strongly agree, mildly agree, neither agree, no disagree, mildly agree, and strongly disagree. It can be coded in these two ways. Is it? Yes. This is like again the contradictory one, like we have just discussed in the last slide. So that is why either you can go with 5 4 3 2 1, 5 for strongly agree and 1 for strongly disagree, or you can go with this way. Sorry, it was +2 for strongly agree, +1 for mildly agree, neither agree, no disagree, that means neutral for 0, mildly agree -1, and strongly disagree -2. That can also be done. So this is even called stepple scale. You can say that we are actually pointing out that particular scale, and this question would be categorized, this question would be coded in the form of stepple scale, right? Either this would be 5 4 3 2 1, or +2 +1 0 -1 and -2. That can be done. Now coding open-ended responses. When it comes to close-ended responses, we already had responses in our hand, and it was like they were pre-decided. Either you would be having 5 options or maximum 10 options, or whatever it is, you already have a record of that, right? 10 12 13 14 15, as many number of options can be there, but you already have a record of them and you can easily code them, right? But when it comes to open-ended responses, you actually get different kind of responses from people. For example, you had 10,000 questionnaires to get it filled. If you get a response for one question, open-ended form, 10,000 questionnaires means 10,000 responses, right? Then it's very difficult to manage them. So you have to make some categories. You'll be knowing it after getting the questionnaires filled only, and you will have to make the categories as as constricted as possible, because if more categories would be there, it would be very difficult to analyze the data, right? So you have to try to make them as low as possible. The purpose of coding such questions is to reduce the large number of individual responses to few general categories of answers that can be assigned numerical scores, right? Test tabulation method to identify similar responses from approximately 20% of respondents' questionnaires, and then construct coding categories as per the judgment. Yes, you can always go with test tabulation method. Codebook says that identifies each variable and its position in the data matrix. Then it provides variable description to you. Then it identifies each code name and position on storage medium. Codebook would be providing you all the details. Then how would you enter the data? The process of transforming data from the research project to computers now. You are transferring the data from your research project to computers. That means you are entering the data from the questionnaire. For example, persons who indicate salesperson as their occupation might write their job description as selling shoe in a shoe store. So now it's your job. They might write this in other category. So it's your job to find one more category as salesperson, right? Or you can include it as a job because it is their job, right? So you can include this in job, or if you find maximum categories of salesperson, then you can include it in other category as well, right? Sometimes we don't understand, as a layman, people don't understand what should be ticked in this particular question, and they end up writing their actual profession in other. So that has to be taken care at the time of data entry only. Data entry can be done through optical scanning system as well. For example, marked sensed questionnaires, computer assisted telephone interviewing, and keyboarding. These are the methods for automatic data entry. Sometimes we get OMR sheets and you just scan them, like in the case of online exams these days. There are multiple choice questions and you just have to check them whatever response respondents have gone for, right? But in case of questionnaires, followed uh, uh, this is the least followed method, because generally questionnaire comprises of all kind of questions, but still sometimes we have these questions as well. That is why I've mentioned it. Marked sense questionnaires is also one of the method of data entry. Then computer assisted telephone interviewing, that is actually done at the time of interview only. And then keyboarding. Now, how would you recode the data? Sometimes there are certain questions which have been coded and then they actually need the recoding process. Let us see how. Recoding is the process of using a computer to convert original codes used for raw data to codes that are more suitable for analysis. For example, I have collected the data of sales of a company, and at the time of analysis, that is creating little trouble. So I might take log of sales, right? Natural logarithm of sales can be more useful than actual data of sales. These things can be done sometimes. For example, it can be like presented as variable 1 is equal to 8 minus variable 1. We are trying to regenerate the same variable again, so that it goes well with other data. Yes, this is very important. Error checking and verification. It's basically cleaning the data which is actually not right in the analysis. Sometimes you might be having some data, for example, like we discussed in the last presentation, you might have entered wrong date of birth. These kind of things can also create problem at the time of analysis. That is why we go for error checking and verification at the time of exactly after data entry, so as to get the data cleaned. And this is the most important step, because and that can be done with the help of Excel sheets and SPSS. That's the best software I can say for research purpose, for normal research purposes, especially in social sciences. That's it. Let us discuss some true false. Yes, number 1, editing is the same thing as coding, is it? No, it's not at all. Editing is the process of checking the completeness, consistency, and legibility of the data and making the data ready for coding and transfer for stage. That means editing comes before coding, right? And coding is basically setting some rules how to enter the data in computer system. So it is false. Coding is the process of assigning numerical score or other character symbol to previously edited data. Yes, this is the same. The coding is actually the process of assigning numerical score. That means it is true. Third is, in qualitative research, numbers are usually used for codes. Is it? How will you do, like, how will you code the data in case of qualitative research? You will be using numbers in all the researches. in qualitative research as well as in quantitative research. But in case of qualitative research, numbers are seldomly used for codes. So some students might take it as true or false. Both of them are correct if you provide the right explanation. But when it comes to qualitative research, numbers are not necessarily entered, so it is false. Fourth is dummy coding can be used for dichotomous responses like yes or no. Yes, we generally use dummy coding for yes or no in maximum cases. Dummy coding means it doesn't matter what kind of the numerical score you are providing the question to the answers of a question. These are just for the purpose of separating two categories. So it is true. Next is a record is a collection of related fields in a data file. Yes, it is. We discussed in the starting of this presentation, like record is collection of related fields and file is collection of related record. So it is true. Sixth is when a survey is highly unstructured, it is possible to pre-code the response categories before the data are collected. Is it? No. Questionnaires need to be highly structured for pre-coding before the data are collected to be possible. So it is false. Seventh is the purpose of coding open-ended questions is to reduce the large number of individual responses to a few general categories of answers that can be assigned numerical codes. Yes, 100% true. When a coding method produces more categories than are deemed important during the later stage of the research, the categories can be reduced to a smaller number of categories by combining categories. Yes, it is. So it is true. A data sheet documents the location of each variable in a data matrix. Is it? No, it is actually called code book, not the data sheet. So it is false. Self-assessment questions. Discuss the elements of data files such as field, string characters, record, data file, and value label. So, field is collection of characters. Characters can be a single number, letter, or special symbol, such as a question mark, dot, full stop, something like that. That represents a single piece of data, usually a variable. Text variables are represented by string characters, right? String means text variable we are talking about. Then which is actually computer terminology for a series of alphabetic characters, non-numeric characters we call them. That may form a word, sometimes maybe company name. Then record basically is a collection of related fields. We have discussed what field is. Now record is a collection of related fields. Researchers may use this term to refer to one of respondents' data, right? We discussed it in the presentation as well. Then a data file is a collection of related records that make up a data set. And finally, value label allow a word or short phrase to be associated with a numerical value. Then discuss the two basic rules for code constructions. What are the two basic rules for code constructions? We already discussed. First, coding categories should be exhaustive, meaning that a coding category should exist for all possible reasons. If there is a large number of possibilities and other categories is used to ensure that the categories are all inclusive. Second, the coding categories should be mutually exclusive and independent to each other, which means that there should be no overlapping among the categories to ensure that a subject or response can be placed in only one category. So this is very important to be taken care of while coding the data. That's it. Thank you. And in our next presentation, we'll be starting with data analysis. First, we started with editing the data, then we coded the data. Now we'll be starting with actual analysis of data. We have made our questionnaires usable. Now we'll start with data analysis in our next presentation. Thank you.